Hey guys, welcome back to another Life with Lenoci, and I am checking in with you guys. We got a checking in episode. All the episodes, I'm checking in with you. I'm checking in with you guys and making sure you're okay, and you're checking in with me to make sure I'm okay. And we got another solo episode in the studio back at my place. More scheduling conflicts, but it's okay. We give you a little different feel within what we're normally doing. It's definitely not as silly as from what I hear, a more serious episode. I'm about to hit the road for a couple weeks here. I leave for Orlando to go visit my dad and nephews. And then I have two shows in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Monday the 22nd and Tuesday the 23rd. Tickets are at my website. There's probably like 10 tickets left for the Tuesday show, and then there's probably like only 30 or 40 left for the Monday show. So overwhelmingly grateful for the turnout of the Fort Lauderdale shows. That's pretty incredible. I expected to do over 100, but this is beyond what I expected. So that makes me feel good. Personally, it feels like some of the hard work I put in is starting to pay off. But we still have more work to do, guys. We still have more work to get. You know what? I realize I'm never going to be sitting here on an episode and telling you guys, we did it. We did all the work we needed to do, and I'm done now. So that's never going to be the case. But the Heat just won. I just got done watching the Heat game, and just to riff off a little bit of that means I'm 7 wins away from buying or getting a dog. The last time I got a dog was in 2008. No, it was 2007. I'm sorry. It's 2007. I got him around March. And it was like almost a year after the Heat had won a championship, their first championship ever with Dwayne Wade. And I got the dog, and as some of you know, Wade. And the first when trying to think of names, it wasn't even planned. But I think I got to name him Wade after the great Dwayne Wade. And sure enough, I did, and I had Wade until 2020. He brought me a lot of joy and love, as dogs do. Dogs bring you a lot of love and joy, and everybody should have a dog in their life. A few, maybe even a few. I know that Wade won't be my last dog, but he will be one of the more impactful dogs I've had. I've had two dogs, childhood family dog. There was a dog around when I was like 1 through 4, but not a lot of memories with that. It was probably my dad's dog. His name was Kobo. And then I had a childhood dog, Blaze, who was one of the coolest dogs, a Jack Russell Terrier, very independent, would run nonstop, very active, hilarious, would do so many funny things, would chase the vacuum. He would hold on to a tennis ball. You could spin him in a circle. He would jump in the pool. I could get him swim underwater for a tennis ball. A little bit of a temper on him, but overall, great familyhood dog, not great with other dogs. But he was a great childhood dog. And he ironically left us when I moved to LA the same year, 2010. And, probably shortly after I moved. And then, 10 years later, Wade leaves us in 2020. So, two impactful dogs. And I always said I would never get another dog unless I have to. I always said I would get a dog when I had a backyard and I was married with kids, because that would be easier, because I'll always be traveling because I enjoy what I do, and I want to continue to always travel and do stand-up. Maybe I get burnt out, but never say never, right? Who am I to tell you what's going to happen? But I would get a dog if I had a backyard, and I had kids, and then I would think about, I'll probably get a dog. I'd think about what I would want, and then I would name him after an athlete. I like keeping that tradition going. I would name him after a South Florida athlete. Now, Obviously, in the future, I would hope that I would have a name, available to choose from based off of South Florida sports. Maybe there historically would be someone in the next 10 years that is impactful to my life in sports because, that brings me a lot of joy. Outside of stand-up, sports, South Florida sports brings me the most joy. But then I decided that, I can't break the rule. If a championship was won, whether it be the Super Bowl from the Miami Dolphins or the championship from the Miami Heat, only those two sports. I'm not, let's say, I know the Panthers are in the Eastern Conference Final. Let's say they won. I'm not naming a dog Hevchekin, Chelvaka, or whatever their last names are in hockey, those Russian names, Vansbiesbrook, you know what I mean? I'm not going to, hey, Vansbiesbrook, you know what I mean? I'm not naming it after hockey because I'm not a big hockey fan. But I'll watch, I'll watch because the Florida Panthers are in it, but I'm not naming my dog, maybe a bird. I would get a bird and name a bird after a hockey player. You can name a bird or a cat after a hockey player. That's it. Most hockey players, Bauer, Shevchevkin, Eichenberg. You know what I mean? Those are cat names. Hishkamanga, Crosby. Crosby would work as a dog. Palovich. You know what I mean? Like that. Oh, Palovich is my cat. I have a cat named Palovich. So either way, it's specifically basketball or football. Now, hypothetically, let's play what happens if the Heat won a championship. Then I got to get a dog within the next 6 months. If they win in June, within the next 6 months, I promise you I'll get a dog because I like to have rules in my life. And everybody, you can have rules. You can make up silly rules in your life and stick to them and then obsess with them. You want to know, here's a rule, and people might say this is OCD. A real OCD, if somebody has OCD, they'll leave their place, and then they'll be like, hold on, I think I forgot to do something, and they can't let it go because if they don't double check, then somebody will die. That's how they think, right? That's like crazy OCD. I have little things I do on purpose that I could stop if I wanted to, but I don't. Like, for instance, every time I board a plane, I knock on the plane. I go knock, knock, and I get on the plane. That's something I do every single time I board a plane. I don't have to do it. If somebody said, don't you dare. If someone's like, don't do that, and I'll give you $100, then I'd be like, okay, I won't do it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to do it, but I like doing it. I like that that's a rule that I have. I like that I have to knock on the plane. It's just like, when football players hit the sign when they're coming out of the locker room, or baseball players, they do their little routine when they go up to bat. That's my routine for traveling. I knock on the plane. I go, let's go. We're doing shows. Let's go. We're traveling. Knock, knock. So, for me, it's, hey, if there's a championship won in South Florida, whether it be football or basketball, whoever is the dominant force in that championship run, basketball or football, that is who I will name the dog after. And right now, we're 7 wins away. The Miami Heat are set. They win 3 more. They go to the finals, and then they have to win 4 in the finals. It's going to be obviously Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler would be the finals MVP. He's the one carrying the team. I would have to get a dog and name him Butler because that is one of my life rules, and I stick to it. So we're 7 wins away from me getting a dog and naming him Butler. So obviously that is, set in stone. You're like, well, what if the Dolphins won the Super Bowl? But that wouldn't be till February. So, they would have to, if they both won, the Heat would have won first and it would still be Butler. And that makes more sense because my last dog was Wade after Dwayne Wade. So now we have Jimmy Butler after, it's just a basketball themed thing that I would stick to. So I think that's a fun little rule that I have in my life. And there's other examples of rules like that you can do as well if you want, but I don't think that it's OCD. I think it's just, it makes life a little bit more, it makes life less serious and more fun because you're like, this is This is a rule I made up, so I got to do it. Anyways, let's recap the stand-up world. I just got back from Sacramento and San Francisco. San Francisco, I did a one-nighter on a Thursday at the Valencia Room. I don't know if I would ever do a show there again. It was a little rowdy. There was like 90 people, but there was a bar in the back. It was a little talkative. I haven't even gone through the footage to look through it to see if there's anything, worth posting. Maybe there is. But, the next 2 nights I was in Sacramento, I stayed with, shout out to Anthony Storetti. I always say his name wrong, and he never corrects me. Storetti. It's Storetti. Anthony Storetti. I stayed with his family, his mom, and we, because she lives in Sacramento, and his grandparents live there, and they cooked for us, and it was a great experience. That's something that I don't know people necessarily do. Sometimes you go on the road and you stay in a hotel, but if there's an option because someone's family lives there and they have an open guest room for you, then why not? And something I was reminded is how much I admire and like being around a family environment where there's home cooking, but they're also fun and laid back and like to have drinks. I was able to say whatever I wanted. I was very inappropriate at times, but it was a laugh and people enjoyed it. Those are my people. That's my people. Storetti. Anthony Storetti. Anthony Storetti. I always say, no, it's Storetti. I'm fucking it up and it's making me crazy. Anyways, his brother came there. He's got his own issues, man. He's got a serious face all the time. It's just like Anthony's brother always looks like he's contemplating something. He's just always like sometimes, like we were hanging out and he even just like left to go run an errand in the middle of the day. And I like to believe that he went and like he like drove somewhere and found out where someone lived and beat the shit out of them because they looked at him wrong in like a grocery store. Like maybe he was at a grocery store and like some guy was like, "Excuse me." And he's like, "Excuse me." Because he's kind of like quiet until he gets to know you. He opens up, but it'll be like, "Fuck you, motherfucker." Like he's like that. He's got that Boston Italian feel where you're like, this guy will throw down. I don't know if he really will throw down. I think he's just a punk, but he has that vibe where, like you could tell his brother idolizes Mark Wahlberg. Like Mark Wahlberg is literally his favorite actor. And I don't even have to ask. I have no idea if this is true, but he has that face where where like if you saw him, like you would be like, "Oh, that guy's favorite actor is Mark Wahlberg." You ever seen someone from Boston and you could just tell they love Mark Wahlberg? That's what Anthony's brother looks like. And he's got like a pointy face where he's like, "I'll fucking knock you out. I'll fucking knock you out. I swear to God." Like, and then the fact that he left randomly to go run an errand and you're like, what could he possibly be doing? That's when you don't know. Someone could be just doing something so random. And I believe he found out where someone lived that he felt disrespected him in a grocery store. And I feel like he beat the shit out of a guy in the middle of the day. That's what I think. I think his brother beat the shit out of a guy in the middle of the day and then like washed his hands at a gas station bathroom and cleaned up a little bit, maybe bought a shirt or had an extra shirt in his car because he drives like a Mustang, like an older Mustang. Not an older Mustang, but like a newer older Mustang, like a 2007 Mustang or like you know what I mean? Like maybe a 2010. And you're like, it's still running, but it's not one of the it's not like a GT. It's just like, it's one of those guys who just like, he probably has clothes in his back seat. He looks like that. He looks like a guy who would have clothes in his back seat and like cleats but the cleats aren't in a bag and they're dirty. So like the back seats are dirty. And like, if you had to carpool with him, you'd be like, it kind of smells back here. And you're like, yeah, cause I work out. And like, he drives around with a wife beater. I mean, like stereotypical Boston type of guy, rugged, real hockey player looking type of dude. Someone that you would name your cat off of. There you go. We called it back for you guys. So anyways, it was good to be around family because it was Mother's Day. It was my first Mother's Day without my mother. And it was good to keep my mind busy. What else would I have done here? And something I hope to build one day myself. So we'll see. We'll see. We're 39 next month, so doesn't look good. Doesn't look like it could be. Doesn't look like it's happening anytime soon. That's for sure. So what are you gonna do? But maybe I could have one when I'm 50, enjoy the family for 15 years, and die. So maybe I'm not gonna get to see them. At this point, I'll barely get to see my kids not believe in Santa Claus. You know what I mean? Like, that's something new that I learned. Like, my sister was telling me, you only get so many years with your kids before they stop believing in Santa Claus. And then, so that magic only lasts like 10 years. So you want to hold on to it. So it's special for my sister. I remember she's like, this is special for me. I like to watch them believe. And then when I give them gifts, they see the magic. That only lasts so long. So why would I want to rush out of that? So at least I'm not old enough to where I will get to experience that. No matter what, I will get to have that with, if I do have a family, I'm sure I'll live long enough to see them live to 10. Hopefully I'm not 70 when I have a kid, and then maybe I don't. But yeah, so that was fun. His mom cooked us food, great Italian food, great brunch, just a great time. And I did think Sacramento was cool, man. I did a small theater, held like 40 people. We did 2 shows. The second night, a lady came to both shows, and on the second night, she had a seizure. Or like, I don't even know what it was. To me, it looked like a seizure. I mean, she's sitting front row, right in front of me. I mean, these people, it's a very intimate setting, and I posted a clip on my Instagram. But, I'm riffing, and we're talking, and something very funny happens. And then all of a sudden, someone goes, hey, and points to her, and I see her just lock up. Like I saw her lock up, like her muscles tighten. So in my mind, I was like, I've seen seizures before. I go, this seems like it was a seizure. And then she came to, and she's like, I don't feel well. And then went back into the lockup. It was like she went in and out and couldn't stand, and they laid her down. And then, at this point, I'm like, we got to cancel the show, obviously. Like, I didn't post the part of her, like, falling down, because it's like, if anything, it'd be uncomfortable to watch. But I'm sitting there, and I kind of don't know what to do. I'm in shock. And I'm like, are you okay? Are you sure? Like, I don't know what to do. And then I snap out of it, and I'm like, Anthony, call 911. I remember always learning that. I think it was when I had to get CPR certified, that you never say, somebody call 911. And it's stuck in my brain forever. You never just yell, call 911, call 9. You never do that. You point to someone and you say their name and you say, call 911, and they immediately will do it because they are being told to do it. It's like a psychological thing. Like, if you're in a setting and someone falls down and you're like, call 911, and then everyone's rushing to the person helping them, nobody's going to call 911 because they're going to like, oh, someone will call 911. But if you look at someone and go, you call 911, Steve, call 911, that person will be like, oh, I was told to do it, and they will do it. And sure enough, that happened. He called 911, and the paramedics came, and she ended up being okay. I mean, they looked at her, and they felt like she didn't need to go to the hospital. They were just like, I don't know what they said it was, but she ended up staying. And then everybody's like hanging around, and we have the merch out ready to sell it. And then they're like, the guy who ran the theater was like, do you want to go back in there? And I was like, well, I don't know. I mean, I figured we'd just call it a show. Don't you have another show? He's like, you could, whatever time, you could do more time. It's fine. And I was like, I don't know. Do you guys want to go back? I just said, because we're in the lobby and there's like 20, 30 people in the lobby. I go, do you guys want to really go back in there? And they're like, yeah. And so we go back in the showroom, and I just start doing stand-up again for like 25 extra minutes. Like, these people were like, we don't care. Let's get back into it. And the lady who almost died came back and sat in the front row again. And I was like, you got to stop laughing because it looks like you're going to fall over. So that was crazy. That was just a kind of a crazy story. That was just crazy that happened. But she ended up watching the show, and afterwards I gave her a hug, and I was like, I'm sorry that happened. She didn't seem like she was on drugs, but she seemed like, she seemed like somebody that, maybe she has done drugs, but I don't know. She seemed like, she would have a normal conversation, but, you never know what happens. But, like, for a second right there, I was like, I even asked her on set, I go, did you think this was it? I wanted to know. It's like, did you have the thought process like, oh my God, I'm about to die? And she was like, no. So it must have not been a very bad experience for her, but the room was small. I might go back there in winter if you're in Sacramento, because I could do like 5-6 shows there and maybe come up with a couple other buddies. But I would want to come back up there just to stay with Anthony's mom again, because we have chemistry. And I'm just kidding. I'm only saying this because I know that they're gonna watch this episode, so I'm giving him and his brother a hard time, especially because I did a whole bit on his brother. But I want to go there just for the food, and it was a fun time. But I was a little under the weather. I was a little tired, so I didn't get to really party as much as I wanted to with his family. But they're a fun family to drink with, and it's always fun when you are around people that like to, let loose and have a good time. Like I vibe with that. And it reminded me that I kind of grew up like that. We grew up, by the time I got to high school, my sister was in college. For Christmas Eves, we would have a party. And at that point, my parents kind of would let go a little bit. And I would have friends over. My sister would have friends over. And we would all drink. My uncle would get drunk. People were drinking, laughing, having a good time. And that was the culture I grew up around. And that's the same thing I want to build in a family. I want to have a big family that is laughing, arguing, eating a lot, drinking for the holidays. That is priceless. That is the joy of life. The things you hold on to when you're younger are like your friends. Friends are a great time, but they stop by for holidays. But like going out, those little things like you think about when you go out at night and you go to bars and you go drink. Those are little pieces of crumbs of enjoyment that you don't remember. But you remember trips with friends and family forever. I remember all the big trips I've ever taken with a lot of friends and family. A lot of the holiday parties in high school, like I said, for Christmas Eve, from freshman year to senior year, were the 4 best Christmases, growing up. Because when I was little, we just went to my grandparents' house and it was fun playing with my toys, my cousins. It was whatever. But once we got older and people were coming in and out of the house throughout the whole night because it was an open house, that was so much fun, man. And that's a fun thing to look forward to at least once a year. And you could do that on Thanksgiving. You could do it on Christmas, New Year's, and then there's some spring holidays. There's, you have Memorial Day, Labor Day, birthdays. So, I mean, there's enough to where it happens once a month that you start to realize when you get older, you're like, how much fun it is to, life is way more fun when you get older. Like, it's fun when you're a kid because you're playing and you have an imagination and you're just doing things and you're making up these scenarios and these worlds and you're running around with your friends and there's no responsibility and there's no stress and there's no pressure and anxiety is not around yet. And then life happens and all of that is on top of you, but it's so much more fun to enjoy conversations with adults and share memories and grow your relationship with the people around you that you love and care about and your family and friends. And like a perfect example is this weekend I'm hanging out. There was moments where I was talking to his mom more than I was talking to Anthony, his brother, because, they're 24 and 22 and they're stupid. They're just like, what do we do? They don't even know how to get somewhere without Google Maps. You know what I mean? Like I could get in my car and just drive and be like, I know how to get places. I pretty much know how to get everywhere in LA. Tell me where I got to go. I'll figure it out. I'll still use Google Maps, right? But I know how to get there. Oh, I got to go downtown? Where? What part of downtown is it? Name the restaurant. I'll find it. I'll figure it out. Give me the street. Just tell me what street it's on. I'll find it. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that at 24. So anyways, his mom is probably like 50, 50. No, she's like 54 or something. So I'm like, what am I, 15 years younger than her? And I'm like 15 years older than him. I'm right in between them. So I get her. I get her more than I get them sometimes. They're learning. And then she's just like, yeah, we're laughing at the same shit. So it's fun dynamic. It was a lot of fun. It's a good family. He's a good kid. Um, a younger comic that wants to learn. And, I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but it's good to have a lot of younger people in your art world or whatever craft you're doing, because you subconsciously or inadvertently will give advice. Maybe it's not even called for. And not everybody is someone who can accept criticism or constructive criticism or want to hear advice or want to learn. But when you're around people that want to learn and they're receptive to what you're saying, you're almost reminding yourself of things that you learned. And that's why I think it's very valuable to keep people around you that are eager and hungry and want to learn in this business, because that keeps you on top of your craft as well, because you're reminding yourself of yourself. You're reminded of how you were when you were coming up. And I have a group of these guys. And another shout out is this younger guy. He grew up in Florida, but Justin Jarzambek, if I'm saying his he's got a hockey last name. We got a very hockey themed episode. He's got to be like 21. I think he's 21. He's been doing stand-up like 3 years, and way too much confidence for a 21-year-old. Like, just, walking around like he's got a 10-inch cock. And, that's not necessary, because he definitely doesn't, because he's small. He's a small guy, and, he doesn't need a pack because his hair, he's got a wild hairdo. But he's doing good, and I was just like, man, if you keep doing this, you'll be... in no time, you'll be a working comedian by the time you're 30. I mean, you're so far ahead of everyone else because you got such an early start, and you're likable, and you're around people, and you're willing to listen and learn. And, that's another kid. Shout out to him, because he had a good set. I watched him have a good set in the Belly Room. I did a Belly Room spot at the Comedy Store. My first time performing at the Comedy Store this year. Only like my second or third time performing at the Comedy Store since the pandemic came back. I used to perform there all the time before the pandemic, but now not so much. For a while, I felt a little unwanted there. I just felt more uncomfortable. I opening for Chris for so many years. He was public enemy number one after the pandemic, and after he got canceled, they don't let him perform there. So I just assumed that I wouldn't be accepted there. And for so long, I was kind of like nervous about going back there. I was just like, well, I felt judged. And, I still feel judged when I go to comedy clubs, which it doesn't matter. I know that in stand-up, the only thing that matters is what you do on stage, and you don't need really peers to help you out. You just got to be great, and people will want to be associated with you and want to work with you based off of that work. But, it's less now in comedy because people don't know what people do, and people are scared, and they don't want to be dragged through the mud for other people's problems. Kind of something like, I've had to deal with in the last couple of years. And, that's unfortunate, but it's life, and life happens. So, what I'm doing now, I've been doing my best to work hard, put my head down, and prove to myself and everyone that I can be someone that can build a career to where I can help people around me and help elevate other people and be a great comedian, be one of the greats, which I believe in myself, and that is one thing I have. And so, going back to the Comedy Store, I just felt like I was like, well, what's the point? I didn't want to be judged. Everybody wants to be liked, especially by your peers, or even by, but walking around wondering like, oh, does this person like me, or does this person think I'm a bad person? Because, like, eventually you become so numb. I mean, it's been 3 years that I'm like, what does it matter? Nobody who has an opinion about me that doesn't, nobody's opinion's going to change about me. If you didn't like me before, you're not going to start liking me. And if you liked me and you knew who I was before anything, then you know who I am as a person, and you'll stand by me, and you'll be a good friend if you're a real friend. And that's really what I have to say about, kind of the comedy community. And, only my actions can speak for me. And like I said, and that's what I have. So, for a while I didn't want to go to the Comedy Store because I felt judged, and now I've gotten to a place where I just feel like I'm on an island and I don't really care as much, that I have nothing to lose, and I'm leaving it all out on stage when I go up. And I really believe that when I go up and I perform, I'm leaving it all on stage, and I feel like I'm the best comic I can be. I never even thought of myself as being the type of comedian I am now. I've evolved more in the last 2 years as a comic than I have in the first 10 years. I truly believe that. I feel like for the first 6 years of my life, I was worried about what people thought off of stage and not as present on stage, because I wanted to look so good on stage and I wanted to be accepted so much on stage by not even the audience, but by my peers and the comedians around me and the comedians I looked up to. I cared so much what they thought for so many years that it basically, held me back as an artist. And now, based off of what I've had to go through personally with online social media hate, the fact of not feeling accepted in places, whether that be true or not, a lot of this stuff could be in your head. And for anyone else going through anything like that, most of the time it is in your head. But also, what doesn't matter is what other people think. And this is the thing that is beaten to death throughout life. People tell you this all the time. It doesn't matter what anyone thinks. It's what you think and what your mentality is, and where you feel good about yourself, then you're unstoppable. And in the last few years, I feel like, you know what? I'm going to leave it all out on the field like an athlete. Like, I'm going to leave it all out on the court, on the field. I'm leaving it all out on the stage. And, I hope that the stage speaks for me, and I hope that people years from now look back and they go, well, you know what? That was a guy who loved his craft, and, all he cared about was being a great stand-up comedian, and that's where he puts all his work in. So I went up and, I went to the belly room and I walked through there with my head, not with my head high, but my head down. You know what I mean? Like, just like, and I keep to myself, go to the show, check in with whose show I am. This girl, Margot, forgive me for her, Margot Hamilton. She had me on a show. Is a great young comedian. I believe she's a Dolphins fan too. I don't know if she's from Florida, but she had me on her show. She's always been really nice to me. And I went last, and I had to go up before a comedian. And I'd never met this guy in my life. I had never heard of him. And his name was Eric. I made sure to get his name, Eric Rocha. His name was Eric Rocha, and I finally, I was killing time. I got there early before I get started. I'm never one of those comics who's like, I'd like to go up early. Like, whatever the person wants, it's their show, and I don't want to make it any more stressful than it has to be. And I know comics who run shows, it can get overwhelming. So I had to go last, and I had to wait a bit. And I'm like, well, they're going to probably be a little bit tired at the end. Sometimes that happens. And everybody throughout the whole lineup was having a great show, one of them being Justin Jarzombek, this 21-year-old comic. And I was like, this is the best set I've ever seen him do. For 21 years old, I was highly impressed, enough to where I've known him for a couple of years now. And, I met him. He was one of a younger comic that kind of approached me and asked me questions, and I took a liking to him because he seemed like he was a fan of me, and I was a fan of him. So I was like, all right. And I saw him have a great set, and I just told him, like, I told him what I would want to hear if I was 21 from a 38-year-old. That I believe in him, and you just got to keep going. And it doesn't hurt to give little affirmations. Little tidbits of information that can give someone affirmation. You never know how far that will go for someone. And I feel like I didn't get that as much when I was coming up, from some guys. I remember even before, I'm very good friends with Jackson McQueen, but I mean, even when I first met him, he gave me some, he's always given me a little affirmation here and there. Not so much from some of my closer friends, you would think, you know what I mean? But because sometimes your closest friends in comedy aren't your closest friends. But you live and you learn. But I feel like in the last 6 months to a year, I've surrounded myself with people that believe in me and make me feel better about myself, and in a way has made me become a better comic. Sorry to get off there. So anyways, talking to Justin, he had a good set, and everybody on the show was having a good set. So the room was hot, and I'm like, oh, it's going to be tired at the end. And sure enough, I'm next. And this guy, Eric Rocha, he straight up demolishes the room. In the belly room, it's a great room. I remember it as being one of the best rooms. I started in that room. I've probably performed on that stage over 300 times in my life. My first 5 years in comedy, I was doing a show. I was going up in that room once a weekend. You know what I mean? Whether it was Friday or Saturday. There was a lady running a belly room show, Tammy Jo Deeren. She was one of the first people to fuck with me for a while. I used to run sound for her for years. I don't see her anymore. She doesn't book me. Kind of, looking back, I was probably a little bit of an arrogant asshole, and so was she. We both had egos that we bumped heads, and we just had a falling out. But, over the years in passing, we see each other and we go, well, I think we're one of the too few people still in the business. And we kind of started together. We started from doing a stand-up showcase with the same person, Leslie Wolf. But anyways, she would have me go up all the time. I'd run sound for her, and I would do, we would have one show Friday, one show Saturday, 2 shows a weekend. I would do that for like 2 or 3 years with her in the belly room. And that got me some confidence and learning a little bit, and it got me good. So I appreciate that time now looking back. Now I can look back and be like very thankful for that. And, whether or not she needs to know that or whether or not she likes me, I don't know. But, maybe one day I'll bump into her and be like, hey, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. And that was a learning experience and, made me who I am today in some sort of form, because, there's always people, I can give you a handful of people that have helped me in the beginning that maybe I wasn't great. Jay Davis was another one, but I don't think he's a fan of me either. And then Michael Q has given me a lot of stage time. I still talk to him. But there's a lot of these bookers out there. So anyways, going back to this kid, Eric Rocha, he just fucking, dude, annoyingly started killing. Bro, people are clapping. He's getting applause break after applause break. And like loud laughs. So loud that I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Usually you're like, great, this guy's killing. I'm going to go up and kill. Most of the time I'm watching a show and I'm like, oh, this room's hot. I go, this guy's killing. I'm going to kill. This guy was annoyingly killing that I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, you got to be fucking. I was like, I'm not going up. It was like the first time in years I was just like, am I following Joey Diaz? And then I found out that he's opened for Joey Diaz a couple times. No shit. Because literally one of the hardest people I've ever seen kill is Joey Diaz, Eric Myers, rest in peace. Look him up if you haven't. Eric Myers used to kill the most. Joey Diaz and Earthquake. 3 guys. Donnell Rawlings would kill 2. 4, and I've had to follow Donnell, and I've had to follow Bill. I've had to follow Tiffany. I've had to follow... people that have killed, but this guy was destroying. And I don't even remember. They were just such likable jokes. I believe he's gay. He's a gay Mexican comic, and it was just so funny and likable. And I don't want to even ruin some of his bits, but people loved him, man. And I was just like. And I was watching him, and I'm very self-aware, especially on stage. And I'm watching, I'm like, well, I'm not as likable as this guy. I think I have the sarcastic dick. But I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to follow. I don't know how I'm saying to myself, I don't know how I'm going to follow this, but I know how I'm going to follow it. I knew exactly what I was going to do. And I didn't think I would do as good. I thought, oh, I've done comedy so long that I'm like, I'm going to take what it is. Whatever happens, I'm fine. I take it on the, I'm still going to have fun. But I was able to ride the wave. I rode the wave, and, I riffed off of him because, sometimes when someone murders that hard, I walk up and I go, it's not going to be as good as that. All right? So everybody chill, and I go a little self-deprecating. But shout out to that kid, Eric Rocha. You know, I don't know if he has a YouTube, but if you're on YouTube or if he has a podcast, look that up. Eric Rocha, very funny guy. I'm sure I'll see him a lot. But that was my first time meeting him or seeing him, and I was very impressed. There's no doubt in my mind that guy's going to be a star, because you know, but at one point at the end of his set, he was wearing like a button-up blue short sleeve, I believe, button-up blue shirt. You know, like something like that a mechanic would wear, like you know what I mean, like a car mechanic, like an Italian car mechanic, or something that a Mexican would wear, and he's Mexican. And he had a Coke bottle in one of the pockets and a water. He just had 2 bottles of liquids just like in his pockets too, and he was killing. Like, that's so ridiculous to have. I don't even know if that's like he did that on purpose. I just remember I was like, why is this motherfucker holding his water bottle and Coke bottle in his front pockets? Like, is that how he just operates? Jesus Christ. But man, that was a fun little belly room show. And fun experience. So that's what kind of happened this week in comedy. You know, coming up, I obviously have the Fort Lauderdale shows like I brought up. And then I have Austin, Cap City. I'm not sure. I think it's a smaller room upstairs. But I'm excited because I got a show Wednesday night. If you're in Austin, I'll be there all weekend. Wednesday night is my show. And then I think Thursday I'll be on the Secret Show, Red Band's Secret Show, which I believe is at Volcon. And then I think Derek Poston has a show I'm going to be on Saturday. And then there's another comic I'm on his show on Friday. So I believe I have a show every single night. Let me double check. Every single night I have a show. I'm looking it up. Bear with me. I forgot the comic's name. A younger Austin comic who I want to give credit to, but I got to find him. And I'm doing his show, but I want to get the right information in case you guys listening are there. His name is Dan Payatsky, another hockey last name, but 5:25, 8 p.m. So the 25th is Thursday. So, you know, that's Thursday. So maybe I have a couple spots on Thursday. I'll be bouncing around. Nothing Friday, but a show Saturday. But I'll be in Austin there from the 23rd. No, 22nd, 24th to the 28th, doing shows. So if you're out there, check it out. But my personal show where I'm going to do an hour is at Cap City on Wednesday the 24th. You can buy tickets for that. The other shows I'll probably just be doing 10, 15-minute sets. But if you want to catch my personal show, that's on Wednesday. You know, and you know, it's harder to do a clip of the week. Like, what's the clip going to be for online? What kind of clip am I going to get? Like a comparison clip, you know, like last week's episode, vanilla ice cream versus chocolate. You know, I have all these ideas written, but I don't know if that's naturally the theme for when I'm doing these episodes a lot. Alone, it's a little bit easier when I do it with Mark, and I think I like that. That's why I like doing it with Mark, because I can be sillier. I feel like I'm performing for him. So we'll hold those off. We'll hold those ideas off for when I am with him, because we got a lot of fun ones coming up. Apple juice versus orange juice, French toast versus pancakes, Chinese versus Japanese people, Italians versus English, and men versus women. These are just come up with better ideas. I also got an email for a dating advice again. I responded to the guy, but I am doing a solo episode, so I'm going to have to get back to that email in 2 weeks, because I'm obviously out of town next week. So, you know, I'll have to do another episode. But if you did write an email, don't worry. I will get to it, and you could write emails to lenoci.michael.com. lenoci.michael@gmail.com, and we'll respond to all your emails if you have any relationship advice or any other advice that's going on in your life. But that's it this week, man. I appreciate everyone. Thank you for watching. If you are on YouTube, like and subscribe. Make sure you comment. Give me your thoughts. It helps the algorithm. And if you're listening on Spotify or if you're on Apple Music, make sure you leave a 5-star review. Everything helps a lot, especially if I'm one of your favorites. That can help me help share me to other people so I can be their favorite as well. We appreciate you guys, and take care and be safe. Goodbye.